Ever notice those folks who just suddenly disappear from the office grind? It is not some flashy I quit post on Instagram while they fly to Bali. It is way more subtle. Monday, they are networking and fixing their LinkedIn. Then Tuesday, they are just totally off the grid. They move to a tiny house, drive an old car, work less, and they look strangely happy. As everyone else hustles for that next title or cert, this group just stepped off the hamster wheel without a word. A 2023 study from the University of Bath suggests their brains handle status differently than those still in the sprint. Hang on, because this is going to flip your whole idea of success and ambition completely upside down. Why do we keep running? See, the rat race isn't some secret plot against us. It is actually perfectly synced up with how our brains were built to survive. You have got this old school system inside called the mesolimbic pathway. It is your internal reward map that glows when you get a raise or a good job from the boss. Cornell researchers found in 2019 that moving up the ranks feels just like eating or even certain drugs. That new title is basically a hit of dopamine for your mind, but there is a catch. We are built for the tribe. For 300,000 years, your rank decided if you lived or died. Top rank meant safety and better resources, so your mind became hardwired to keep moving up. It is not about being vain. It is just ancient survival instincts wearing a suit and tie. Modern work life is the perfect dopamine machine, full of tiny wins and constant progress bars. Hit your goals, get paid, buy something new now. You need the next check, just to keep it all going. Princeton calls this the hedonic treadmill, where your brain constantly moves the goalposts on what enough feels like. Most folks are not suckers or weak for staying in the hunt. They are just following 300,000 years of biology telling them to get more and stay safe. Their hardware's working fine, but then you have the ones who just walk away from the ladder entirely. They trade the fancy title for a job that actually lets them go home on time. They head to a quiet town and stop obsessing over the numbers that used to rule their lives. To everyone else, it looks like quitting. But here is the secret they are not telling you. Their minds might just be wired to see the world in a totally different way. In 2021, the London School of Economics studied career downshifters, and the results were pretty wild. These people use their brains differently when deciding between a fat paycheck and having their own free time. For most of us, seeing more cash makes the reward center in our head go crazy. But for these quiet quitters, that spark was dull. Their brains had basically redefined what happiness looks like. Now, before you jump in the comments, I am not saying one way is better than the other. Both paths make sense today. But why some people's minds flip that switch is the real mystery. Usually, there is a quiet moment, maybe a small one, where the math just stops adding up. Often, it is burnout. UC Berkeley research shows that constant work stress can actually rewrite how your brain looks for danger. After years of pressure, your brain starts treating a simple email notification like a tiger in the grass. The hustle stops being about winning and starts being about surviving, often triggered by a health warning. You are 42, and your doctor starts talking about high blood pressure or chronic stress. That big promotion suddenly feels less like a trophy and more like a slow-motion disaster. Maybe you're sitting by a hospital bed hearing a loved one wish they had worked less and lived more, then something clicks. A 2020 study found that those who leave the race for good share one specific mental trait. They score high on what experts call temporal discounting flexibility. It means their brains choose long-term peace over getting a shiny new title right this second. Most of our brains are actually pretty bad at caring about our future selves. We want the prize now because tomorrow feels a million years away. That is why we eat the junk food or take the job that will probably burn us out in 5 years. Some people are wired differently, whether it is genetics or choice. They can actually touch their future self, picturing themselves at 65, wealthy but exhausted, hits them with the same punch as a big win today. That is not weakness. It is a rare kind of brilliance. We need to talk about why walking away is actually a huge struggle. It is way deeper than just working less. Your entire identity starts to dissolve. For decades, your job title has basically been your name tag to the world. It is your calling card at parties and the yardstick you use to see if you are winning. A study from 2018 found that career identity is so deep in your DNA that losing it feels like mourning. Once you stop climbing that ladder, you are forced to ask, who am I if I am standing still? Then there is the tribe. Our brains are hardwired to care what everyone else thinks. When you slow down, you are basically ripping up the rules everyone else lives by. Friends start checking in, asking if you are okay or if you just had a total breakdown. They mean well, sure, but their worry is actually a defensive reflex. You are going off script, and that makes people feel incredibly uneasy. Yale found that choosing a different path triggers something called social comparison anxiety in those around you. You are at a party, and someone asks what you have been doing lately. You tell them you are working less just to enjoy your garden or finish a book. The vibe shifts because you have reminded them that their own daily grind might be optional. Of course, there is the money. The real, cold fear of earning less and watching your savings shrink. A voice in your head asks, is this a huge mistake? Will I end up broke and regretful? Financial experts found that downshifters panic about money because they miss the constant feeling of moving upward. And finally, there is the loss of the game itself. This might sound a little strange, but stick with me for a second. Many people actually miss the chaos, the rivalry, and the rush of performing under pressure. High achievers are not just hooked on the money. They are addicted to the mountain they are climbing. Stepping out means losing that roadmap and that constant sense of moving forward. So, do not think these quiet exits are just some easy vacation in paradise. They are really just swapping one set of struggles for a whole new landscape. You would assume life gets easier once you quit the race, right? Less stress, plenty of freedom. And some data actually backs that up. Oxford researchers found that people who value their time over their bank account are generally much happier. But there is a darker side to the story. Stanford tracked a group of career downshifters for 5 years to see what happened. The results were messy. Sure, their blood pressure dropped and they had more free time. But they also hit a wall of deep, existential dread that they did not see coming. Without a boss or a deadline, they had to face the terrifying task of finding their own meaning. That is the scary part. Inside the race, your why is basically handed to you. Hit the numbers, get the bonus, climb higher. Simple. But when you stop, you are the one who has to decide what makes a life worth living. It turns out, most of us have never even bothered to ask ourselves that question. Many realize they were just using work to hide from the bigger, scarier questions about purpose. The hustle was just a way to avoid admitting they did not actually know what they wanted. So for them, walking away does not lead to a quiet mind. It puts them face to face with the stuff they have been outrunning for years. They have to learn how to exist without the constant applause and the daily proof that they matter. Honestly, shifting your mindset is incredibly tough. A Yale expert, Dr. Laurie Santos, describes this as reversing our natural cravings. You are basically training your mind to love moments that do not feel like a dopamine rush. You are rewiring how you feel joy, and believe me, it burns. But here is the secret. Those who actually walk away find a freedom most people cannot even imagine. They stop picking a life just because it looks good on a social media feed. Instead, they start choosing things that actually make them feel alive inside. Research from the University of Rochester shows this shift creates a deep, lasting spark that keeps your soul fed for the long haul. Inside that rat race, you are constantly looking sideways, obsessed with who is winning and who is falling behind. Once you step out, the scoreboard vanishes. Suddenly, you have to figure out what winning actually means on your own terms. Was my time spent well today? Did I really see the people I care about? Was I actually awake for my own life? That sounds like some cliche advice, until it becomes your reality. Then, it changes everything. Those who leave usually find a new kind of inner strength and mental flexibility. They quit waiting for a good job from others to feel okay. They finally start trusting their own gut. Other people's noise does not rattle them anymore. It is not that they are cold. They just finally know their own mind inside and out. And get this, a lot of them say that time itself starts to feel totally different. In the hustle, time is just a clock ticking down. It is the enemy you are always trying to beat, hack, and squeeze for every drop. But when you step away, time opens up. It becomes a room to breathe in, a way to actually live. Studies show that when people work less, their days actually feel longer and richer. It is not boring. It is just that they are finally present. They actually see the leaves change. They remember their weeks. They stop feeling like they are just skimming the surface of their existence. Now, let me tell you something that might shock you. Those who walk away, they were not born special. They literally trained their minds to want a new life. They practiced it, saw new ways to live, and felt enough pain that the old way just broke. A 2023 study from Penn looked at how the brain physically changes when adults finally decide to switch up their lives. What they discovered is that if you try hard enough, you can actually rewire how your brain feels pleasure. The old stuff, like fancy cars or beating a rival, just did not give them that same hit of excitement anymore. But simple things, like a walk in the woods or a real talk with a friend, started making them feel incredible. You can actually change what makes you happy, but it is a grind. It is not a one-time choice. You have to choose it every single morning. Every time you pick freedom over a paycheck, or let someone down to stay true, every time you stop comparing yourself to the climbers, you are fighting against 300,000 years of biology telling you to get to the top. That takes a rare kind of guts. And here is the thing, no one mentions about those who quietly step off the track. They are not quitting. They are just picking a much tougher game. The rat race is easy because the rules are simple, and everyone knows who is winning and losing. But life on the outside? That is messy. That is totally wide open and scary. It is a world where you have to sit down and write your own rule book from scratch. And that requires way more mental muscle than most people will ever have to use. These are the few who can handle that awkward sting when people start judging their choices. They can feel the stress of money without letting it force them back into a cage. They can look at those big, scary questions about life's meaning without running back to the comfort of a promotion. They rebuild who they are from the ground up, based on their soul, not their job title. That is not losing. That is not failing. That is a level of emotional toughness that most people never find, simply because they never have to. So, if you are currently stepping away, or even just thinking about it, listen closely. You are not broken in the slightest. You are not lazy. You are not just giving up or wasting your life away either. Your mind has simply changed its definition of what a real reward looks like. And making that shift? It might just be the smartest move you will ever make. You are okay. You've been shaped by life, guided by deep values, and a vision of happiness that breaks the mold. That inner strength matters, even if it feels isolated. Those still chasing the crown aren't making a mistake. They're just listening to old instincts for safety and rank. But you're chasing a different signal. A hunger for freedom, for being present, for a life that actually fits. Both paths are real. Neither is better. They are just different ways to win based on what you actually care about. If you're feeling stressed about cash or what your neighbors think, don't assume you messed up. It just means you're human. You're walking a trail without a map, and that's tough. But you're not solo. A silent tribe exists out there, people who get the sacrifice and the price of leaving the grind behind. People who decided that freedom, time, and true peace are worth way more than whatever they gave up. This isn't just theory. It's living art. Look, that endless competition isn't going anywhere. That corporate ladder stays right there. And honestly, part of you might still crave the climb. But here's the truth. You can't unlearn this reality. You can't forget that weight lifting off your chest. You know now that success isn't just one flavor. So, if these words hit home for you today, if you're quietly leaving or just thinking about it, know this. Your doubt is actually wisdom. Your fear is clarity. Choosing time over titles. Being here over getting there. And deep peace over constant performance. That isn't failing. That is growth. If you felt seen here, you should watch my next piece on why some need so little to be happy. To help the channel and see these early, hit that join button down below. Regardless, I'm glad you're here. You aren't broken. You definitely aren't lazy. You aren't ignoring some core instinct everyone else has. You're just playing a new game. And perhaps, just perhaps, you are.